This story contains content about suicide. If you're having thoughts of self-harm, please consider skipping this episode and seek professional help.
Yeah. I was recently seeing this girl, and dude, I was head over heels for her, and I would fucking like. She would wait. She told me one, like, the day we broke up, that sometimes she felt that she had to force herself to talk to me, and that would always make me feel like shit, because other people have told that to me before, where like sometimes they just don't want to talk to me that day. And like there's been days where, like, 3 days in a row where she hasn't talked to me, and I tried like not to think about it, but like my brain can't help but not think like, hey, like, everything's gonna fall apart, so just get ready for that. And my mind, all parts of my mind is like, hey, we shouldn't be thinking like that, because if we perpetually think like that, then we're gonna give off that energy that like we're expecting it to happen, and it will happen.
I mean, if she doesn't talk to you in 3 days too, that's kind of an indicator, no?
Yeah, well, yeah, but like it's just my train of thought of how I handle situations. Yeah. Like I'll talk to someone for a while, and everything will go smooth, and all of a sudden something will change, and they never tell me what it is. So every relationship, I'm always trying to reinvent myself, but I never feel happy. And when I go back to what I originally am, what makes me feel comfortable with myself, it ends up not working out. So like, I know I can't find anybody who works well with me, or at least I think works well with me. They end up I don't work well with them. And I've just come to the realization that like I need to not focus on that anymore. I shouldn't care about getting a relationship. I shouldn't give a shit about like settling down, having kids. I shouldn't give a shit about that. Like, if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I shouldn't actively have to go out and seek approval from someone when I can't even approve of myself.
Yeah. Okay. I largely agree with that last part for sure. Like, figuring out. Being happy with yourself, I feel like, is such a recipe for success when it comes to being in a relationship, and I can't even begin to express that enough, because I've been with people where they're so displeased with their self, it doesn't matter how highly I see them, right? It's like, I know they're this amazing person, and I think they're attractive and all this, and like I tell them and try and like reinforce the ideas all the time, but because they have it so set in their mind that that's not the truth, right? It doesn't fucking matter what I say to them. It doesn't matter what affection I show to them. Like, nothing I do matters, because they're so displeased with themselves. I want to apologize for the interruption. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. It really helps out the channel, and you'll never miss an episode. What about like the abandonment and neglect?
I guess all the abandonment things definitely stems from people who I hold very near and dear to my heart, that I guess I've come to the realization that when I have a friendship going on, or a romantic partner, or anything, my brain will often over romanticize it, if that makes sense. Like, I'll always think it's more than what it really is, because I earn for that so much that anytime a situation that's not even relevant to it comes up, my brain immediately jumps and thinks, this is perfect, this is what we need, this is everything we needed. And so when those situations end and they just dip out of nowhere, it fucks with me quite a bit. Like, I had that, like I said, I mentioned I had that group of friends that I was friends with for years, and over the past like a year and a half before, or like a year or so before they had cut me off, I had just been slowly becoming like a different person. And instead of like them telling me about, hey, we're worried about you, this is what's going on, they kind of just thought to themselves like, hey, let's just fucking not talk to this dude anymore. Like, let's just give the fuck up. And that always is something that irked me, that like they were able to dip on me so quickly without a second thought, and it fucked me up for so long that, like, if they can do that, and I put so much into them, what's to stop anyone else from doing that? What's to stop
Is this okay?
It can happen to anyone, or anyone can do it to me, and then like my brain's like, so why do we even try? Like, I've come to the point that no matter how close I think I am to someone, at any moment they can dip, and I should expect it to happen, which is it's such a terrible train of thought. I also feel like that's a big part of why I have relationship issues with people. I always think to myself that, like, hey, if they're not talking to you, they want nothing to do with you, they probably found someone better than you. They probably think that you were absolutely nothing to them and they never cared about you. And so I always assume they're going to dip it when they do leave. I take it extra hard. Even though I know it's coming, it always hurts. So I just have a really, really hard time trusting people in general. And then the moments I do try and think to myself, maybe I can trust this person, it always backfires on me.
Right.
I always try to tell myself, like, hey, maybe this time it's different. Maybe this time this will work. And then it never does. I'm just like, yeah, that's what my stupid ass gets for thinking that I'm going to be happy. Hey, man, I'm going to be honest. My brain's kind of a dickhead. We don't get along a lot.
So I'm sure, like, a lot of that shit that your parents have been feeding you your entire life is, like, like, of course that's going to be there, right? It's, like, funny because your phone's also, like, blowing up right now.
Yeah, but that's how it always is. It's a cycle. Like, I'll have my phone blow up with a bunch of people who talk to me, and then a couple months later, fucking don't talk to them anymore. And they move on and do their own things.
And so, do you have a close friendship right now or anything?
My two closest friends that I consider, not just my friends, I consider them literal brothers, is my buddy Andrew and my buddy Michael. If it wasn't for them in my life, I would be 6 feet under the fucking ground. I would have killed myself a long time ago. Or let me rephrase that. I would have gone through with the attempts if it wasn't for them. And they always tell me they're never going to leave me. And my brain, 99% of the time, says they're definitely not going to leave, but there's still that 1% that irks me. But they are my closest friends. Current, like, my life, like, my closest.
And so, like, do those friendships help curb that, like, help kind of put some logic into perspective? Because it's like, okay, not all of my relationships are destroyed, right? Maybe just some fit better than others, and some work out and some don't.
The day I went to kill myself was, I won't say, like a month ago. My buddy had been actively texting me and trying to, like, edge me away to go meet up with him and talk to him. And he told me when I finally, like, gave in and went up there, and I was ashamed of where I was, and I was so out of it. My buddy sat down in front of me. He looks at me and goes, hey man, when you're like this, you can't think rationally. I'm gonna be the one who thinks rationally for you. And then he locked the fucking car, wouldn't let me leave until the rest of my friends showed up, and they were all, I guess, driving around the city looking for me. And then they all surprised me and they took me out and they tried to, like, help me talk through things. So, like, I owe them everything. Like, they are without a doubt my best friends. I fucking love those guys. Words cannot describe how much I love those guys. Like, I cannot actively describe physically or verbally how much I care for them and how much they have impacted my life and have saved me.
Well, I hope you know how lucky you are too, because, like, I feel like that's what everyone desires, right? Is, like, a close connection with people, right? And, like, a sense of community. And I feel like most people experience that with their romantic partners, and then they don't get it other places, right? And so the fact that you're in the opposite, right? I feel like, no doubt, like, for sure, you're like a handsome dude. You're gonna get a girlfriend, you're gonna
Appreciate
get someone. Like, you're gonna figure your shit out and everything's gonna be fine, especially if you keep, like, growing and healing, like, that shit's gonna come with time. That, like, those friendships, like, what's fucking, because you can't build 7 years of friendship over a year or something like that, and so, like, that's, like, the shit that I envy, because I've moved around so much. Like, I've lost, like, a lot of, like, every time I start having, like, a close friend that I'm like, yeah, that's, like, the fucking,
this is the homie right here.
Yeah, then I fucking move again. It's
fuck, I gotta go find a new one.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, you can talk online and shit, but it's not really the same.
That's another thing that's been going on, is I can feel my mental health declining because of, like, the stress of not knowing where I'm going to be sleeping the next day, or, anything that's going on, like,
So where are you staying now?
Half the time it's either in my car, or half the time it is chilling at my grandparents' place. They're helping me get everything situated until I can get moved into a new spot.
Yeah, but your grandparents don't want you there, or what?
They're leaving on the 31st. They're going to go on, like, an 8-month trip. So no one's going to be there, and they don't want me in that house by myself for 8 months. Which makes sense.
Because, like, mental health issues, or?
Well, it's fucking my grandpa's issue. My grandpa has relationships, like, 2 very bad relationships with his 2 sons. And so if they see that I'm there, my grandpa thinks I'm going to let them in. And if they let them in, the shit's going to go downhill. So it's basically my grandpa being like, hey, yo, no.
Do you feel any relief knowing that you're gonna move into this place?
Extreme relief, actually.
Yeah.
I granted I'm gonna have to see my parents again when I have to go back and grab my shit. I shouldn't have done it, but I called my mom for Mother's Day, even after all the terrible stuff she said, and first thing she fucking did was try to guilt trip me on the phone. You know, I fucking call her to wish her happy Mother's Day. She goes, "You didn't have to do that. You have a terrible mother. You know, she doesn't. Your mother doesn't deserve anything." And my mom just like, she's fucking on that. She's on that shit where she's trying to like guilt trip me after telling me to fucking kill myself.
Yeah.
You did this shit.
Yeah.
You make me not want anything to fucking do with you, and I still have to love you because you're my mother. But you're testing my patience.
Dude, like, I have a pretty toxic family. Like, I could send you like my podcast episode, but I'm just gonna like give you permission. And I know this is gonna sound crazy, but you have permission not to care about your mom, right? And I know that's fucked up, but I'm telling you, because I felt for the longest time like, oh, I couldn't do that, like family's everything, like family, you know, above all other shit. But like honestly, like it gets to a point where it's like my friends are better family to me than my family is, so like my family's just like not it, right?
Preach to the fucking choir.
But it was weird, like I did need permission to kind of stop caring about some of my family members, you know. And when I hear other people like getting that power back too, I'm like, fucking welcome, dude, welcome. You know,
welcome to sanity again.
Yeah, because like you can't control your mom, you can't control your dad, and you have to live your own life.
Yeah, you have to accept the
yourself.
fact that you can't control everything, and especially them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I kept thinking like, oh, if I have enough control, right, like when I get to a certain level, like whatever that is, like enough money that I could take care of my mom, or enough whatever wisdom, experience, like I'll be able to like fix my family shit. And it's like that day will never come, because
there's
like,
too much shit to fix, and nothing can ever fix it.
They don't care enough to want to fix it, right? Like you have to acknowledge that people are like their own individuals, and like that's not fucking happening. Yeah, I think like when I moved away from my family, for sure, like I can't even tell you, like, because I moved away when I was 18, my first year of college, like my first and second year of college, I was really like off the fucking rails, and I couldn't figure out why at the time, like why I was doing all this like weird shit. And at first I was like, oh, maybe I'm just like acting out, like experimenting, because I'm like in college.
My rebellious phase.
Yeah, like I'm away from parent control and stuff, but it wasn't that. It was like I was trying to heal from my family's trauma, and I was doing like weird shit because I didn't know how to like adult. Like I was like so broken, I didn't know like latching on to people. I'll give you an example. I would like latch on to guys like that clearly weren't into me, but I would just be like, yeah, he's fucking great, and I would like obsess over him, basically. Like get like super obsessive.
I know that pain.
Yeah, and like then I'm like, oh, you know, that person really wasn't like a good fit for me, and it would be super obvious that they weren't a good fit for me, but I was like so obsessive with them.
Yeah, when you're in that state of mind, you're trying to latch on to like that happiness that your brain is developing.
But what I'm saying is like there was a guy in high school, not that this is fucking about me, but there was a guy in high school that I cared a lot about, and he never really like was interested back. But I moved, and then I found a guy that had similar like personality traits to that guy, and I just projected all these emotions like onto that guy. Basically, he was like the new dude, you know. I
related to that because the chick I was dating before, the recent girl, was very similar to the girl I was recently dating, and I projected a lot of that. The way you're describing it, I felt I did the same thing. I projected a lot of those emotions and those feelings onto her.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. The guy that I was interviewing, when I told him about my brother, he said like we were talking about how young it is to kill yourself at 24, and like, you know, like how fucking hard life is at 24 too, because you're like trying to put something together, but like it takes so long to put your life together. At 24, you fucking don't have that. But I
also think that, sorry to cut you off, but
yeah.
To piggyback off your thing about life being hard at 24, I think the biggest factor in why that is because your entire life you're told figure your shit out by 18.
Yeah.
But that's not a realistic goal. And then you go in to college, like you said, like you go pick a career, half the time you don't fucking like it.
Yeah.
And then you could switch fucking majors halfway through, and you realize that, hey, I wasted 2 years of my life on something I wasn't happy about. Is this going to make me happy?
Yeah.
Is what I'm currently going through making me happy? I don't have enough time to explore myself as a person and explore myself as an individual.
Yeah.
And then, like, if you try to explain that to anybody, they'll just be like, bro, you're just lazy. Like, go fuck. Ooh.
Yeah. But
fuck you, boomers.
yeah, there's like so much fucking... we have a fucked up system. It's a fucked up system, and like there's no fixing it. But something that the other guy said when I was interviewing him about like my brother is like, when you're 24, you don't have your shit together, and it's so hard to have your shit together, and it takes so much time to get your shit together, right? But when you're 24, you also don't have the foresight to know that it's gonna get there, right? And so like
the shitty in between spot.
Yeah, you're at the shitty in between spot, right? Because even if you push super fucking hard your entire life, like, you know, like say you go to, you know, you're 4.0 student or whatever, right? And you go to college, like you do 4 years in college, right? You're graduating when you're 22, right? You get hired right out of the gate, you work for 2 years, right? Now you're 24, right? And you're probably still like best case case scenario, your parents paid for college, but that's pretty unrealistic, so you're probably like 30 grand still in debt by the time you're 24, and you're making like 60, 70 grand a year, right? That's fucking best case, right? Like best fucking case, right? For I think like the average middle class American, right? And so at 24, like you're in a fucked up situation. Your 30s gonna be better. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I think 30s is... I'm 27 and I feel like it's gonna get better.
I feel like people around 29, 30 years old finally have their shit together. And even then, like, if you're lucky.
Yeah, if you're lucky. And I feel like that's the other thing, too. There's so much in life that could fucking happen that just throws, like, you off course. Like,
I also want to point out the past 2 years with COVID.
Yeah, fuck COVID.
The whole world shifted. The whole world changed. Mentalities changed. And I also feel like that's a big factor as well. Like, why people our age can't get their shit together. Because when we were working on it, we were told to stop everything and fucking stop everything that you find hold near and dear because COVID's here.
And COVID also fucked with your mental health. Like, even if people were working from home and, like, got to keep their jobs, right, you were most likely struggling with depression and just, like, what do I do with all this free time, right?
2020 was my worst year.
Yeah, mine too, buddy. Trust me, that was the first time. Like, I've been depressed basically all my life, but COVID was the first time I got on antidepressants because it got that bad. Like, not only did my depression end a relationship, right? Like, so I was dating someone, but my depression basically ended that relationship. And then I moved up here, so I also moved away from all of my friends. And then it just, like, exacerbated everything, just fucking being here by myself. Also during COVID when everything was closed.
My 2020 I spent in a bed. I destroyed my ankle and spent... It happened right before the pandemic was labeled a pandemic. It happened in February 2020. But I spent 2020 basically in and out of casts, surgery, and not being able to walk. So not only was I not able to go out and do anything, but I was bedridden most of the year.
Terrible.
And, you know, with the type of parents that I explained I have, they made me feel like shit for needing help.
Fuck COVID.
Man, fuck a pandemic, dude. Fuck the pandemic. Ruining my life, man. I lost 2 years of my life. I self-identify as 24. I still got 2 more years before I have to figure my shit out.
Can we talk about your last suicide attempt?
Yes. So, like...
And you can't tell me to fuck off at any point if I...
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, right. I'm just gonna be like, no, fuck off.
Yeah.
That's such a dick thing to do.
No, it's cool. Like how you're talking about being a dick, but it's like the funny dick. Like that's how my whole family is. I don't know if it's like a white... Well, are you white? I don't even know.
I am half white, half Puerto Rican.
Yeah, like I feel like that's a white people humor thing. Is like, I'm an asshole to you, but it's like me showing you affection type of thing. And so like...
This is gonna sound off topic, but there's a show called BoJack Horseman on Netflix.
BoJack.
Remember the episode? Do you remember the episode where... what's his name? The fucking horse that BoJack looked up to.
Yeah.
When he killed himself. You remember when everything was being consumed by the black ink, and he was saying that view from halfway down. You know, when you're at that point, you think you want to do it, and then you go to do it, and your mind stops you halfway through because you don't want to go through with it. I feel like I had that go off my head, not to the extent that like the poem was expressing. I thought I could see the view from halfway down. But my brain thought to myself, like, that's what's gonna happen if you jump. You're gonna jump, and you're gonna see the view from halfway down and realize you made a terrible mistake, and at that point, it's over. So I felt like my brain was like precognitively like trying to coax me into not doing that jump, like subconsciously. And at that point in time is when my buddy messaged me and tried to like, you know, told me to do that that last will and whatnot.
I love that you said that. So maybe something else you don't know is I had 2 people in my family commit suicide, and like every time I get depressed and it gets to that point, right? Because I'm not actually committing suicide. Like maybe I'm thinking about it, or maybe I have a plan, or whatever, right? But every time I get to that point, I feel so bad for my family members that they felt like that, and then some, like, and then some more, you know, because if they actually kill themselves, like, they have to be feeling, like, worse than what I'm feeling, right? And so, but I was talking to somebody else that made a suicide attempt, but they were obviously unsuccessful, and they said, like, you know, when they went to kill themselves, right, there was like, no tears, there was no sadness, there was no anything, they just felt, like, resolve, like, the complete and uttermost resolve, like, oh, it's finally over, it's finally ending, type of thing. And I thought that was super interesting, because I always figured that everyone's like last moments would have been fucking like tears and, you know, fuck this shit type of
The
thing.
5 stages of grief all going off in your mind at once. But
yeah, I thought everyone would have just left kicking and screaming, but then like hearing his where it was just like fucking crystal clear, like melody, you know. And the guy tried to hang himself, and you know it didn't work out. So,
the sudden serene soundness, if that makes sense, where your mind feels at ease and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and I was just like, fuck, man. Like if, like hopefully that's what my family members felt instead of the way I
the way that you felt it.
Yeah, the way that I felt it, right? Because like that just sounds, I mean, in a way better, but in a way worse too. Like knowing that you've gotten to that point, but I mean, I don't know. Like, what is your experience with shame, and especially with how open you are? Well, what are your experiences with shame, I guess?
I would say I'm a former addict of porn, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I had a porn addiction for a really long time. I think that also comes with, it's also part of the reason why I couldn't handle, like, an actual relationship. Porn's pretty bad for you, to be honest. And overdoing it, yeah, it's pretty bad for you.
Yeah, you know, I've had experiences with like partners being addicted to porn, and it like definitely affected our relationship.
Yeah. I was shameful of it, but my body kept doing it anyway.
How did that affect it? Can you talk about that though? Can you speak on that a little bit? How did your porn addiction affect your guys' relationship?
I always thought that like things would go like a porno, like situations would always lead like that, and I guess that kind of leads into like someone who was never like, I never like had those sexual partners or partners that did things like that, so I always resorted to porn. And then when I finally find partners that are you know, sexually active or anything like that, my mind immediately thinks like, hey, this is like my own little porno going on, or hey, they're not doing what I expect because of the porn that I've seen, that it's caused a disconnect between me and, you know, past partners or past hookups or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it kind of changes the way you view like sexual encounters or romantic partners, if that makes sense.
Yeah, actually kind of like my experience too is when people are like addicted to porn, like it's like hard for them to finish in like real life when they're like actually having sex with
yes,
shit,
it 110% is. Like, shit takes me like an hour and a fucking half, and I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna give up. I ain't feeling it anymore.
And it like fucking blows my mind, you know, because on like internet and the media and all this stuff, it's like talking about how quick guys finish and shit like that. But I think that's like a thing of the fucking past, because I think so many guys are addicted to porn now that's like not real life.
It's a media that's accessible by fucking anyone, and anybody who tries to tell you it's not, is bullshit. Because we all fucking know, if you're 14 years old, you're learning about what boobs and shit look like, you're looking it up online, and you have access to it. And if you say click on the site if you're 18, every motherfucker lies about that.
Of course.
It's not good for you. And I wish that, like, I was told that when I was younger before I started it, but of course hindsight is 2020.
That's the thing too, is I feel like people aren't fucking talking about it, and I feel like there is so much shame associated with it too. It's like the people that have experienced it, like, don't want to fucking talk about it, right? Because, like,
it feels shameful.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is, like, I'm sure when you're with your partner, you know, and you can't get fucking hard for, like, the chick that's, like, in your bed in real life, you know, that, like doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah, it makes you feel like, what the fuck's wrong with me? Like, I have the real thing right next to me. Why the fuck isn't this working? Like, what's happening with me?
I've, you know, known people that don't put those two things together, right? They don't realize that, oh, it's because I'm watching porn 3 times a week, and then I'm also trying to fuck my girlfriend 4 times a week, you know?
Yeah,
it's like
they don't understand the damage that's due. No, especially because, like when you're 16, between like 16 to 19, 16 to 20, you're as a guy, your brain's firing on all cylinders. It don't matter what you're doing. Your brain's gonna look at something and think, hey, yo, that curvy piece of wood looks like a chick's thigh that I saw the other day. God damn, you're in the mood.
Yeah, I keep waiting for biology to, like, catch up with the fucking times, though. I'm like, this evolutionary shit needs to happen faster, right? Like, I want
millions of years of evolution, bro. Just speed that up already, dude. Like, hey, yo, like, I'm 24. It's basically a million in dog years. Fucking speed it up already.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, you know, we're fucked. I'm, like, wondering what kids and shit like that are gonna look like in the future, though. Like, and I was just like, I wonder if babies are gonna, like just come out and keep going longer, because, like, we fucking love that shit. Like a worthless baby, that's what it's like the new fucking puppy. Everyone loves puppies. Everyone loves worthless little babies.
Everyone loves a fucking inbred. Everyone loves a pure inbred dog. It's all fucked up.
Yeah, look at my dog. She has no survival instinct. She would fucking die. They bred everything out of her and just made her, like, this needy fluff, and, like, that's fucking what I want. But yeah, no, the porn thing, hold on, I gotta go back to this for a second, because that story that I heard about was just fucking crazy. Like, this guy was saying that he was on YouTube as a kid, was clicking around, ended up on Pornhub, like you were saying, right? Hub. And then by, like, you know, he was like 14, like, to make him come, he had to watch, like, relapsed, like, anal shit type of thing, and then, like, 15, 16, he had to be taking Viagra to stay hard. And I was just, like, fucking, like, blew my mind.
I feel bad for porn. I feel bad for porn and sex addicts nowadays. Mm-hmm. Every fucking person's got an OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. It's so readily available that, like, I don't know, I feel bad for them. I feel really, really bad for them.
Well, the other thing that I feel bad about is, like, you know, AA is readily available, but there's no, like, if you fucking went to a rehab center and was like, hey, I'm addicted to porn, right? Everyone would be like, get the fuck out of here. I'm addicted to meth.
Like, I'm addicted to, like, I suck dick for money. You just watch people suck dick. We're not the same person.
I have real problems, you know? And it's like, no, but that shit does really affect someone's life. Or, like, fucking gambling problems. Like, you know, there's...
Gambling addiction is a fucking problem.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's shit that's, like, there's non-addictive things that are addicting, right? And it's because our brain drug addiction runs in my family, and so for the most part of my life, I've stayed, like, pretty much away from drugs, but I've been very into getting addicted to non-addictive things, right? Like, the way I used to listen to music was fucking wild. Basically, like, if I was alone, which, you know, if, like, someone wasn't specifically there for me, like, I would just have headphones on all the time. Like, even when I had roommates, well, I've always had roommates, but, like, my roommates just weren't there for me. I would have, like, over-the-ear headphones on the whole time I was at home, just, like, listening to music. And so it was, like, you know, besides me sleeping. Actually, I used to fall asleep with music on, too.
I do that. When I fall asleep, I have to have something playing, because otherwise, if it's pure silence, hey, yo, the panic attacks be rolling in.
What do you get panic attacks about?
Fucking everything, dude. Like, the meaning of life, the concept of my own mortality, realizing that everything in existence is possibly just, like, pure fucking luck. Like, something we saw as the tip of a needle just fucking explode into the ever-expanding universe. That's also eventually going to explode on itself. Even though it's everly infinite expanding, that shit fucks with me. The idea that it's an ever-expanding universe and there's all these different things within it, and we're the only things that are around, and people deny that there's other things out there. And like when my brain just thinks about one thing, like for example, I'll look at my hand and I'll think to myself like, hey, I wonder what my bones look like in there. And then from there I'll be like, hey, yo, calcium exists. Calcium are made of atoms. Atoms is what the universe is made of. Hey, the universe is gonna fucking end one day. It jumps to the most randomly obscure shit out of nowhere, and like,
and then bam, you're in a panic attack.
Boom, I'll start freaking the fuck out where I'm just like, holy shit, I'm gonna fucking die one day. Everything I know, oh my god. Like, my brain is an asshole.
Have you come to any conclusions on what the meaning of life is?
Fuck, dude.
What,
Fuck no.
Purpose, nothing?
I have come to a realization that I am 24 years old. I need to fucking get my shit together. That's the meaning of life, getting your shit together.
So the only conclusion I have is that I think you're just supposed to be happy and have a good time. Like, I think that's fucking it. Especially if you're not religious. Especially if you're not religious, I think that's fucking it. I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. If you are interested in being on the podcast, please email cartherapypod@gmail.com.